I feel like I'm gonna do something that like not a lot of NBA YouTubers are gonna do, and I feel like I'm gonna talk about the Suns Warriors game first because with all due respect to the NBA champion Denver Nuggets, we saw this last season. We saw how good that team could be in the playoffs. We saw them go on a deep playoff run, and we saw them win a championship. And nothing that I saw today in their game against the Lakers really changed how I feel about that team and how they're performed in the regular season and this upcoming postseason. But obviously, we have a big change with both the Warriors and the Suns this upcoming season, who hope to do better than they did last year. And I feel like I want to talk about that game first. So we'll get into that. First thing off rip that I want to mention, I didn't really notice that the Suns didn't have a true point guard on the floor, which of course was something that was concerning over the offseason, was that like the Suns don't have a true point guard. They traded away Chris Paul. Of course, he's on the Warriors now, and they don't have Campaign on the roster anymore. So they were talking, oh, we're going to have Bradley Beal play point guard or Devin Booker play point guard. And those are two guys who are really score first players first and not like looking to run offense through second. Although we've seen Devin Booker, play point guard roles when CP's been out before. How is that going to work through an 82 game season? How our team's going to work around that and try to make this Suns offense a little stagnant and, not flow as well as, of course, when you have someone as legendary as Chris Paul running your offense. And like I said, I didn't necessarily notice. Like, it didn't look too clunky. It didn't look too bad to me, from my perspective, that the Suns, they looked like the team I thought they would be. And that's to say Bradley Beal didn't even play today. Grayson Allen got the start over him, who played awful. He was just straight up bad, like bad. Like, I don't think he hit a shot today. I don't think he hit a shot at all today. And replace his minutes with Bradley Beal's minutes. And I think this game looks completely different. You got the Suns and the Warriors heading into like 4 minutes in the fourth, and this is like a really close game. It could go either way, and the Suns pull out, a tight game there, 108 to 104. I think you have Bradley Beal in those minutes playing for Grayson Allen, and he hits half the shots Grayson Allen takes and probably takes a couple more from a couple other guys. And this is a completely different game, and the Warriors don't come easy with this game at all. But like I said, the Suns, they look pretty good. They looked dangerous in preseason when all three of those guys were playing, because something that I was like, oh my God, like, how do you guard these guys? Like, I'm not sure how you guard this Suns team. You got Kevin Durant, who's an amazing player, mid-range assassin, can shoot it from three, can pretty much shoot it over any guy. We all know Kevin Durant, 6'11", all that stuff about KD. Devin Booker, he's probably, like, in my opinion, he's the best player on the team. And his growth over these past couple years is insane. Like, he is an amazing basketball player, amazing finding a shot, pull up jump shots, bringing the ball up the floor and just shot hunting and being efficient with the shots that he's taking. Now, he wasn't, his best today, but D-Book is D-Book. And when you're getting him looks, because he's not getting double, because you got Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal on the team, and you got good shooters in the corners, and you got Nurk in the middle, who did a good job having some offense ran through him at the top, played well at the 5 spot. When Nurkic isn't hurt, he's a really good basketball player. The Suns team, they look really, really dangerous, like really dangerous, to the point where, like, I think they have the potential to, like, be a number 1 seed in the West. Of course, if all their guys stay healthy and, they have all their guys play and that sort of thing. And things go into a lot when it comes to being a number 1 seed in a regular season. But if things go their way, they have the possibility of being a number 1 seed. And if they can really start to like figure this out and be efficient during the playoffs like they are during the regular season, now we all know playoff defense is different than regular season defense, and the game slows down. But I feel like that kind of favors into these guys. Like I said, this team, like, they kind of remind me of that 2021 Nets team with KD, James Harden, and Kyrie, where, yeah, you had a true point guard in James Harden, but that team, if they didn't get hurt, was probably like maybe they could have won an NBA championship. Of course, we all know they were a couple toe sizes or foot sizes away from Kevin Durant beating the Milwaukee Bucks, who inevitably went to go win the NBA championship that year. This Suns team kind of reminds me of that, where I feel like it could end up something like that. I feel like a lot of people underrate this team, think they have like no shot. They just like their depth looked good. They looked really good. Talk about Josh Okogie, who had a really, really good game. Looks like he's elevated his game. He's going to be a really important role player for this team. Grayson Allen today, he sucked. He really did suck. But we know Grayson Allen is a pretty good NBA role player in this league. They have other guys like Eric Gordon and Yuta Watanabe, who are good NBA players. Like, these are not no-name guys that you've never heard of that they're bringing off the bench. These are real guys that they have on this roster to go around, Bradley Beal, Book, and KD. You got Nurk, you got Kogi, those guys I just mentioned. This team, they can be really, really, really good. Like, I think they can be sneakily good. Like, they have a chance to go far. And I spent like the past 6 minutes talking about the Suns, so let's talk about the Warriors here. No Draymond in this game, so it's kind of hard for me to fully evaluate this team because one, Steve Kerr hasn't had to make a decision on whether Chris Paul is going to come off the bench or not, which is something that I think is imperative to this team's success. He just needs to come off the bench. Draymond didn't play on this game, like I said. He's injured right now. But when Draymond comes back, Draymond needs to be in the starting lineup and Chris needs to go to the bench. Because right now they have 6 starters and they need to trim that to 5. And Chris is that guy. I'm sorry, he just is. And him seeing in a starting lineup with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and Kevon Looney, kind of odd. Of course, your backcourt there between Steph and Chris Paul, kind of funky, They're just starting to get in the groove of things. Of course, it's game 1 of a 82-game season. Chris was trying to find his shot early in the game. He wasn't really hitting anything. Didn't really get a bucket until like midway through the third quarter, I think. Team just looks kind of, they have, of course, their Warriors offense that they run, but it didn't look, as high functioning as we've seen it in the past. But I think that changes with Draymond coming back. And I think when Draymond comes back, he adds a defensive element to that lineup that they had, of course, with Wiggins and what's left of Thompson and Kevon Looney being a good defender and Steph Curry being an underrated defender. He adds a level of defensive impact to that. And Chris going to the bench elevates those guys off the bench because he's a guy who can really run your offense as we saw today. And I think him not being next to Steph Curry helps him find his shot a little bit easier and get some other guys like Moody and Jonathan Kuminga involved and guys like that can come off the bench and help and be productive for this team. And I think that was a little bit lost today. Both teams, they looked a little bit off. It's game 1 of the 82-game season. Things are going to look a little bit off, especially when you have guys out. And I think both teams are set up to have pretty good regular seasons. As long as the Warriors can flip that script on winning on the road, which they sucked at last season, but I think they can flip that script and they'll be pretty good going forward. It's just whether this team can really figure out this lineup and these non-Steph minutes, of course. And another thing, the Warriors' turnovers, man, are they're bad. Oh my God, we need to get that fixed. They need to get that fixed. That's been a problem for them over these years they've been able to get around it because they have some of the greatest players ever on their team, but they need to work around these turnovers, man. And I hope Chris coming off the bench is something that fixes those turnovers, because Chris has not necessarily been a turnover guy over his career. I mean, he's getting older, but he's not necessarily been a turnover guy. So I hope he can help with this team and get them to, move forward, and maybe he helps this team elevate to where they can be in real championship contention with teams like the Nuggets, the Lakers, and the Suns at the top of the West, as I assume.